A very good morning to you, our viewers. Welcome to it. This is the Wednesday edition of the Breakfast Show. My name is Sharon Kalimbula, and what's your name? Are you Roby, the savior? Who's been training for the past 3 days? But anyways, welcome to it. On the other chair is Patrick Shoko, as usual. Patrick Shoko, as usual, the duo on set, bringing you nothing but the very best in what matters in relation to news and current affairs. We will be delving into the stories that made headlines, at least may not be tomorrow, but this week we've had stories that have taken the nation to storm, and excitement, shocking revelations, Patrick. All that will be talked about. Of course, we will be also looking at the health corner and see what the doctors have for us. A big story also, Patrick, was what Tito Kalama covered. Hopefully he comes in and explains to us what was happening in the theater room. Very few opportunities of a journalist being in the theater room, especially here in Zambia, you know, to look at, to watch the whole procedure of an operation. He got that opportunity yesterday where that man from the Commonwealth, to be specific, Ndola, was being operated on after being with a tumor for 7 years in the jaw, and the operation was a success. That is one of the stories that we'll be zooming into, and we hope that Tito Kalama comes on set and explains to us just how he was feeling. Honestly, I can't stand being there, Patrick, in the theater. I can't.
It's not easy.
I can't, so I want to tap into his experience and just have a feel.
Yeah, well, my preliminary finding is that at first he was equally nervous.
He was,
but eventually
overcame it.
They say, oh, okay, let me just do my job. But it's quite a rare opportunity, and you know, again, it's an interesting story considering that 7 years he has been living with that condition.
Yes,
and the medical personnel now attend to that. That it will be a good experience. So wait as to see the recovery process, and as we see the recovery process, I think for me to go down as one of the successes of our medical team in Zambia.
Indeed, Patrick. We'll also look at how the culture is faring. For now, though, let's look at what the doctors have brought for us, and thereafter we'll continue with the show.
Good morning. My name is Dr. Mwamba Pumbwe, coming from Medical Women Association of Zambia. Today we are talking about secondary headache. Before I continue with the secondary headache, just a recap from yesterday's presentation. Yesterday I talked about primary headaches, which can be either migraine headaches, tension headaches, and cluster headaches. And the primary headaches are not because of a disease or secondary to any disease that you may have. They just occur due to certain risk factors, such as not drinking enough water, which is recommended on a daily basis, not having enough sleep, due to stress or anxiety. Those headaches could be due to watching too much TV or playing video games, and also lack of sleep or changes in sleep. Those are the main causes of a primary headache. So today I'm going to talk to you about secondary headaches. So secondary headaches are always because of an underlying condition or disease. The causes of secondary headaches, it can be due to trauma. So there are different types of trauma. It can be because child maybe fell from a tree, or you are involved in a road traffic accident, or you hit your head somewhere, or someone hits a stone on your head. All those can cause a secondary headache. Trauma can cause either concoction or contusion or even confusion. Then Secondary headaches could also be to infection. So secondary headache can be due to some severe infection or just infections in general. So this infection can include ear infections, some cold, flu, trauma. Also, when you've got an infections in the sinuses, all these can cause primary headaches. Other causes of primary headaches include seizures, stroke, some brain abscess. So those and many more can cause secondary headaches. So there are some red flag symptoms. So there are red flag symptoms that you have to look out for when when a child is complaining of a headache. So to start with, so if a child who is less than 6 years old complains of a headache, you have to take that child seriously and take that child to the hospital so that the child can be checked on by the health workers. Other red flags. So the first red flag is the onset of the headache. So if a child is less than 6 years and complaining of the headache, take them to the health facility. Then if you've got a new onset headache which is less than a month, or a headache which is worsening, you have to take that child to the hospital. Then if the headache, also you need to look at what time of the day the headache is occurring. If the headache occurs mostly in the middle of the night, whereby disturbing the child from sleep, a child wakes up from sleep complaining of headache, or if the headache occurs early in the morning, it could be a sign of a more serious problem, and that child also needs to be checked from the hospital. Then also the headache that is triggered by coughing, like if someone coughs and then you start experiencing a headache. Then also the headache that comes after changing posture, maybe from a lying position to a standing position, you experience a headache. It could be a problem as well. Then headaches that are accompanied by vomiting, persistent vomiting, or an increase in the frequency of vomiting, those are also red flags of a headache. Then also if a child presents with a headache plus has got a fever, complaining of ear pain, or having some ear discharge, even those are red flags. Then some children can also experience photosensitivity, whereby they don't want to stay in the bright room because this will make their headache worse. Then some also experience neck stiffness, you're vomiting, and you're having maybe some visual disturbances. It could be because of the increased intracranial pressure. So all these are red flag symptoms, and the child needs to be taken to the hospital immediately. Then the other thing is when a child is complaining of a headache and also starts having like maybe weakness in one hand or the leg or half of the body, or it is also a red flag symptom. For secondary headaches, so secondary headaches should be taken more seriously. And if you see any of these red flag symptoms which I've mentioned, the vomiting, the photosensitivity, the neck stiffness, the fever, ear pain, or the headache that is worse in the morning or wakes up the child from sleep, then it needs some attention, and the child should be taken to the hospital for medical checkup. So always look out for the red flag symptoms that I've mentioned, and if you see your child is behaving in any unusual way, please bring your child to the hospital. My name is Dr. Mwamba Pumbwe. Keep watching Camnet TV.
course, the doctors never disappoint, and that's what they brought for our secondary headache. Patrick, people say, but for me, really, that doesn't work a lot. It's something that has been working, and what doctors mostly recommend when you just tell them you have a headache, unless it persists, then you can seek medical attention. But really, for me, unless I take a painkiller, that's when maybe I feel better. But the doctors there brought us that information. In case you want to find out more, you can send us those text messages and just recommend some of the topics that you feel the doctors can tackle. However, you can still watch this broadcast on Facebook in case you missed what the doctors were saying, just to rewatch and understand exactly what you're supposed to do in an event that you find yourself experiencing or having a secondary headache.
Yeah, quite an interesting subject, Sharon, because a headache is a common disease, and most of the times we experience it. With this time around, where we have extreme heat, so it's a common disease, and you just have to make sure that you keep hydrated, as well as make sure that you drink a lot of water, and if necessary, you go for a painkiller. That's when, as advised by medical personnel. So until tomorrow, we'll bring you another episode of the Health Corner as we talk health issues. Remember, health is vital towards us living dignified or normal lives. And talking about health, that's why we were also talking about that other aspect of a man based in Dola, Sharon, who was undergoing treatment, and that's quite that's going to be a good success story as we track his healing process, so that we understand how our doctors worked on it and how it has been addressed. So it is important that we keep abreast to understand various issues on this segment, because Sharon, sometimes it's not only that man who may be having that condition, but you may be to say, if my friend has been healed, then equally I can
it actually renews hope in people that
brings hope, so people can relate to say, oh, even me, probably I can get assistance from the University Teaching Hospital. I remember that UTH has been growing at a very fast rate, Sharon, because we've been able to attract medical tourism in the past, where we saw people from Malawi coming to seek treatment at UTH. And we are also seeing that Levi is also becoming a medical university. And we have two major institutions that are tending to these complicated diseases. So what is also key on that aspect, Sharon, remains the issue of the budget, ensuring that we meet the demands in the health sector, because the health cannot be compromised, because a healthy nation is a prosperous nation. So when we look at the budget, also we'll be, I think probably on Friday, we'll be looking at various sectors pertaining to the national budget and allocations, so that we get the views of various stakeholders on how much has been allocated and is it sufficient to attend to this. So when we're talking about us excelling in medical tourism, we are looking at that same component of us being able to attend to complicated diseases, attend to cancer issues, let's say kidney issues, all those things. They are quite technical and complicated, and if we are able to attend to such issues, then we become a referral point from other countries. As we say, Zambia is not a landlocked country, but a land-linked country. So we have an opportunity for us to maximize on opportunities which our neighboring countries are offering. Sharon, how is our kwacha performing today?
All right, let's look at how the kwacha is faring this morning. The United States dollars is buying at 15 kwacha 61 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 91 ngwe. The Great British Pound is at 17 kwacha 72 ngwe and selling at 18 kwacha 07 ngwe. The Euro is at 15 kwacha 47 ngwe and selling at 15 kwacha 78 ngwe, while the South African Rand is at 0.88 ngwe and selling at 0.9 ngwe. Those are your money markets as of today, the 5th of October 2022. Patrick, I must mention that today is Teachers' Day, by the way.
Oh,
have you taken time to thank them?
We can do that.
Thank you, teachers. All right, so in case
you recall, let's say, okay, I'll give you let's say one teacher at primary, at basic, then the other teacher at secondary.
Primary school, I think I remember Mrs. Banda. She was Miss Banda, actually. I'm not sure now if she still holds that miss. That's a very long time, Patrick. No, it's a very long, honestly. You can't look up with our
You want her to be miss.
No.
When you I keep you.
I have balloons.
Don't be unfair.
Okay, then she was Miss Banda. She was a very good teacher, I think. Very good teacher. Please allow me to just recognize 3, I think. There was Miss Congo. I think she was my teacher in grade 4. And in grade, I think 6 to 7 or 5, 6 to 7, Miss Namkonda. Yes, I think she's still there at St. Patrick's Girls Primary School. And for secondary, junior secondary school, I think Mrs. Malunga. She's now Miss Piri. She's at Chivolia Primary School. She's the deputy head there.
She's still there?
Yes, she's the deputy head there. She was taking us in office practice. I think we did office practice.
So you loved it?
No, it's not even that. She was just a nice woman. She was so calm, you know. She was... she would try by all this to make you understand. It was a simple subject, of course, but you know, we would get confused because it was so small. But she would actually be very kind to us and take us through. And the late math teacher, Mr. Katura, he was really good. I think I remember those teachers in a secondary school. Mr. Msharawayo.
Okay.
He took me in English, and what else? Man, please don't kill me. No, secondary, junior. I think I have a lot of memories. Junior primary. I think Mr. Mangilashi as well.
Okay.
Yes, Mr. Mangilashi, Kennedy Mangilashi. He was taking me in English.
I can only hope they are watching.
I'm hoping for that as well. Mr. Mangilashi, I think we've been meeting quite a number of times, and he gets excited every time he sees me. I too get excited because I remember those days. He was just a student teacher by then. He came to the school where I was, and then I think he was given a job. He was finally deployed. He's been there at that school. I think he was yet to move, but thank you so much to the teachers that made me who I am today. It was great bringing your classes.
Yeah.
You know, when you pass through a stage, it is only then you begin to appreciate all the processes that you went through. Then maybe there's a lot of pressure, you know, like you know, especially for math. You know, it hasn't really been my favorite during high school. So, you know, I would think, the more reason probably why I can't even remember my math teacher for high school, you know. Quite embarrassing, but really.
You didn't like me. Yeah.
How do I do that? How do I forget, like, completely?
Yeah.
No, that's unfair.
Well, to those of you in Sharon, as we
Mrs. Shower also English. I think she also did some English with me, Mrs. Shower, the wife to Mr. Gerald Shower, Prime TV. I think. Yes,
interesting one.
Yes, she's a very good woman.
Interesting one.
Very good.
Well, for me, I think I remember some few teachers that are more prominent. One of them is I still remember is at primary level is Mrs. Chizondi. She was a nice teacher, whereby she believed in me and said, no, you cannot get these grades. You can do better than that. I was just starting, and you know those days. You know, some of us who are vertically challenged.
Vertically challenged.
Horizontally challenged.
What do you mean, height-wise?
Yes.
Use better language.
Yes.
And for me to understand.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And so now, some of us will say to start grade 1, it wasn't easy, Sharon. So they'll tell you how to get English arrangement. So so you would say, oh, you remember your friends will be nodding to grade 1, but I failed. But I also have to thank this other teacher.
Who said no?
Thomas Soko. This one is my father. When he was just graduating from his college, coming back into school, he's the one who helped me out because I had to start grade 1 in term 3 when my friends were there. So I found Mrs. Chizondi there. She took us there up to grade probably 4 there, somewhere there. But she was a good teacher at Twatasha Primary, Sharon. And at the secondary, at the same place, I would also recall Mrs. Muteva and Mr. Zulu. You know, these are the teachers who would also tell you to say, Mvesesa uzadia zero. Meaning if you're not paying attention,
you get it all wrong.
So you cannot forget his phrase. Up to now, I still remember it. Yeah. Then at basic, I also had nice teachers. I loved English and music. So there's this teacher, Solomon Mbewe. Yeah. So he's still there. Sometimes I do meet him. Mr. Mbewe is
so he's the one who inculcated the first poet in you.
Yes, he taught us in English, and you know what? I remember one word which he emphasized on, and we still make a lot of mistake on. When I talk about government, you say government has. You want to say that, for instance, that government has constructed schools, right? Now using the word belt. So I used to use belt. Then he says, no, it's not belt, it's built. For me to just say built, yeah, Sharon, I would do yes the entire day. to do just one line in a poem.
The things we go through.
So I would do yes the entire day. Then he would just put me there and say built. Say built, and I would say built. More schools being built. I forget. You know, want to see the government. We want to see more schools being built. So it's built, and he was. Yeah, that emphasis.
Yes.
So I always remember Mr. Mbewe. And there's one geography teacher, Mr. Nguni. Mr. Nguni was also at the Kamlanga High School in Kabata constituency, Sharon. I think you've been to the Kamlanga High School.
Yes.
This teacher, what he will always tell you is that he will tell you, when he was teaching you geography, he will tell you to say, this is agriculture.
Yes.
So agriculture, you don't need you don't need to go and look for a formal job. In agriculture, there is money. He will tell you that. When we're learning those subjects and tourism, he will tell you about the benefits and the money involved. He will tell you. So whenever you're writing an exam, so it will click to you to say, what are the benefits of agriculture? Okay,
you're right.
You're able to relate. You understand? And up to today, I still recall, because it's the same teacher who told everyone in our group to say, some of you will be running away from us.
Because you will have
because you may have, at the time you may be just lifting stuff. You get a superstation. You may be just a caponia. You'll be running away. Others who are paying attention will seek to greet us so that we see them to say, "Sir, come here." So I think, in a nutshell, Sharon, it is just good that everyone else is here, because we have a teacher somewhere who labored to teach us something so that we were able to learn. So it is, as we celebrate Teachers Day, I think I would also want to wish all the teachers a happy Teachers Day and enjoy their day, because they really deserve it, because even the president is a product of
a teacher.
So at the end of the day, everything we do, Sharon, we trace our success from the teachers. If they didn't tell you about that, teach you that good English you speak, and that people admired, especially when you did the Pamela story, you trended a lot. There's a teacher behind that.
There's Mr. Mangilashi.
Yes, Mr. Mangilashi.
I think I must not forget Mr. Katepu. He taught us geography. You know, we would call him the Don. That's who I was, because of the way he carried himself. You know, I was in the same class with his daughter Chilombo Katepu. You know, it was, this man, like on Fridays at Jacaranda Primary School, then, he would wear these chains. He just wanted us to enjoy our time. Oh man, Mr. Katepu, we can see you.
Yeah, I can say hi to Mr. Changwe. Yeah, we used to call himself Mr. Chang Chongwei.
Wow.
He was a geography teacher as well. But those were some of the good.
My two sisters actually, they are teachers as well. Oji Kalimbula and the other one, and my sister's, my brother's wife is also a teacher. Happy Teachers Day to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for what you're doing in changing the people's lives. It may not be a mark as of today while you're doing it, but eventually you are grooming and growing people that will become citizens of this country. Thank you so much to everyone that is doing their job. And last week, Patrick, we had Mr. NUPE's General Secretary, Mr. Nelson Mwali, who was actually calling on President Hakainde Hichilema to declare 5th October a national holiday. According to him, this will remind people of how important a teacher is in their lives. Quite a noble call, I must make mention, Patrick. Yeah. Of course, sometimes we don't realize, we underrate the capacity or the ability of who a teacher is in our lives. But when we sit down and reflect, teachers are really important, especially nowadays when our kids go to school at one year, you know.
But for me, I think it is okay, since our children also don't go to school when it is Teachers' Day. So unless we also want to make Sharon...
no, really.
But again, for Sharon and I, we are never advocates of holidays, because every time
we are working, that same holiday will make us come and cover you.
Yes.
You know?
So you see, so yeah, so you too can wish your teachers a happy Teachers' Day. You can do so by calling the number that is on your screen. And also, if you are a teacher, you can just come through as well as share with us your perspective. We can give you this moment. And the topic of discussion is also scrolling on your screen. You can give your perspective on this subject, our dear viewers. And just now, resuming our first story to get started with phone calls, is the story, Sharon, which was handled by yourself, and it is involving the non-governmental organization Gender Coordinating Council, NGOCC, which has charged that Zambia police did not do a good job in line with their mandate of protecting life and property. Addressing the media Tuesday, NGOCC board chairperson Mary Mulenga notes that while the women's movement is grateful that the young females were rescued after months of emotional abuse, among other forms of abuse, police have been exposed negatively. And Mrs. Mulenga says the women's movement will work with other member organization in helping the reintegrator into society. Quite an important aspect, reintegration into society and counseling issues there. The NGOCC movement has a number of organizations that work on that very aspect. So we'll zoom in this story, then we'll be back and take your perspective on the other side.
Okay.
The women's movement is disappointed at the way police has been handling the investigations regarding missing persons, with a specific focus on the abductions of Pamela Chisupa and 12 others. Pamela Chisupa and 12 other young females were rescued Monday, 3rd October 2022 in Lusaka's Chalala area after missing on different times, with Pamela having been missing for the longest time. The non-governmental Gender Coordinating Council chairperson, Mary Mulenga, says the police know what their mandate is, but showed a lack of commitment in the way this matter was handled. Ms. Mulenga, who was speaking in the company of other member organizations, says the women's movement stands ready to support the young women until they are ready to reintegrate in society, challenging the police to release statistics of missing persons for the last 12 months.
Zambia Police has a responsibility to guarantee the safety and security of all citizens. We demand that the Zambia Police should step up their security surveillance and ensure that they secure all citizens, especially women and girls. It is totally unacceptable that young women and girls should feel insecure in their own country. The Pamela Chisupa incidents should never ever repeat itself. Pamela Chisupa and others' case, we suspect, may just be a tip of a deep-rooted criminal syndicate seemingly targeted at young women and the girl child, which we hope the security agencies can immediately arrest. We further demand that the police release statistics on all reported missing persons cases in the last 12 months. We further demand that the government should declare war on any such activities and ensure that they guarantee the security of all the citizens.
And the Medical Women Association of Zambia President Dr. Cheswa Walika says the organization will offer medical support to all the victims, calling on the media to refrain from exposing the victims.
To talk to you, the media, to say this is a time when these girls need their privacy as well. We have seen, we've already seen some of the pictures and videos But our request here is that if these can be stopped, because they are further traumatizing these young girls and their families. The nature of this case is such that nobody wants to see themselves on TV or radio or even be interviewed at this time. So we are appealing to you that please give them their space as they work towards their healing. We also know that this is, as was mentioned, a holistic approach, because there is so much that has happened to these young girls. So we are appealing to all well-wishers to come forward so that we work together to help these girls get back on track.
Meanwhile, the Young Women Christian Association of Zambia says abduction victims will be kept in a shelter and offer them counseling support for a period of time until they are ready to be in society.
We have to manage the trauma that these young ladies have undergone in the 6 months. We'll have to manage the trauma. We'll have to manage their stigma in the community out there, because these are future mothers to be, and one of them is pregnant. So we'll have to take extra care. Alongside with this, we just want counsel. The class will have to reach out to their respective families. They'll also need counseling. How will we integrate them back into community? That is our concern.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
We need to be assured that our children, as they are moving about, they are very safe. And another thing that I want to say is, for me, I feel there's a lack of, there's a misappropriation of priorities. The priorities are not set, because when you look at what has been happening within the same 6 months, I will tell you there's been so many political arrests. Okay, there have been so many cases to do with politics. So the police, instead of them looking at the bigger issues, instead of them looking at the issues that are affecting all of us, they are busy focusing on politicians. They are busy pursuing other things. I would even say this because I'm disappointed. People were saying that it took about 50 minutes for the police to come to the scene.
Answers today. Who is going to take care of those children? Who is going to attend to them psychologically? Who is going to, it takes out, it deflowers you. The whole woman in you just gets deflowered. And the moment they sit, if it comes in their head, these are children who can run mad, these are children who have mental challenges, we are bringing these problems on ourselves. Zambia, where have we gone? What is it that has gone wrong in this country? We need answers. We need answers to this. And definitely, as a woman member of parliament and my sisters here, we are at pains. And for sure, unless we get the real answers, that's the only time we are going to stop.
All right, that story has been trending from Monday, at least up until this whole week, because reactions are still being gotten from various stakeholders. Police, with the help of Chalala residents, managed to rescue the 13 girls, I like to call them girls, even though they are young women, who have been in abduction for quite a period of time. It must be noted, Patrick, that these people were abducted at different times. And the other one that we spoke to, the victim's mother, the daughter has only been there for like 3 weeks. So to bracket them and say 6 months, it would be wrong information to the public. But they were abducted at different times. Others were reported, others were not reported. Like yesterday when we were looking at the other clip for that mobile money booth operator who had a child, and the child was thrown on the tarmac. She was also one of those that were retrieved. And the other one, that story that you've been covering, Patrick, you've been following, where you want to air the story, they tell you stop, because these people told us they know we went to report to the media or to the police and stuff. She was also one of them. And that was it. She was not abducted at the same time with Pamela. It was a different time.
Different interval, and she ended up in the same in the same
group. So it was actually done at different times. I think these people, when they ran out of resources, they'll actually look for the next victim.
so that they can extract resources from the family members. However, this story was covered, I can say, extensively by us on the material day, and as of yesterday, stakeholders were commenting on the matter. Among them, the NGOCC, one of the biggest women's movement here in Zambia, and they were actually expressing their displeasure at how the police handled this matter. According to them, police did not show priority because it took a very long time for them to just come out and secure these people's safety. Of course, at the moment, they are being held somewhere just to ensure that relevant tests are conducted and see to it that they are healthy. And also the YWCA, well known for keeping people in shelters and offering them counseling services so that they can recover from the trauma or whatever they went through and reintegrate into society. So according to them, they have actually prepared the shelters already, just waiting for a go-ahead from the police once they are done with their primary investigations and release them to probably YWCA who have offered the shelters, Patrick, and offer them counseling services. And the counseling services, it must also be noted that it will be extended to the family members because they also went through some kind of trauma. I mean, 6 months or maybe 4 or 5 months without seeing your loved one. Really, we are human beings. We want to see where our loved ones are, even in death, you know. That's why we bury them at specific locations. Now imagine somebody just disappears. That is really traumatizing for you, thinking, where are they? What's been happening to them? Are they eating? You know, all those things. So the counseling services will also be extended to the family members and help the victims reintegrate into society. To top it up, they'll also be given entrepreneurial skills so that they can be self-reliant in one way or the other. But I remember, you know, Zambians are never short of drama. I think I saw a meme like Pamela Chisonka is out, Chisupa is out, but she will collapse when she realizes that the booths have been removed from the streets. I mean, that's why she was working. But that is just one of those social media guys that doing what they do best. I think we have a caller.
Yeah.
Hello, good morning. Oh, good morning.
Every time they are dying from the community getting reports. Then they cannot take the same with the anything before that university people report so that it didn't happen. But they are going to get all that we given to them. So I say that they don't take any action. Now, how going to the police, wherever they are, the people who protect me, what is their role? Like that woman who dealing with the contact, I don't know. Is that enough thing with the whole thing that people? So that's they are. Thank you.
You didn't tell us your name.
Hello.
Okay, I think hello. He just wanted to speak. He just wanted to speak. Did you pick one or two things from what he said?
I think
the language is very clear to me.
The community and the police communicating that in terms of issues of trust, people having trust in the police.
Okay.
That's what he was trying to communicate, if I heard him correctly. It's great. You explained quite a number of issues, Sharon. Having been amongst the people following this story, you were just demonstrating how much information you have on the subject. But I also saw that there's another aspect on the members of parliament. I remember when the incident happened, they did the same. They also came out to ask that investigations are expedited, that justice is saved. And among the pioneers, I think we may be hosting tomorrow is also Jay Banda, on the same platform where we remember we had solicited that he was going to provide support. To the people who have abducted. So let's get this call.
Hello, good morning. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good
boss. Morning, thank you.
You can go ahead. You know, we can hear you.
Hello?
Okay,
the line is really bad, so keep trying, and we want to get your views on this very important topic. Like we were talking, Patrick and I, actually, we've been following this story, and yesterday the women's movement were somehow not very happy with the police. You were saying something, Patrick?
Yes, so we saw that members of parliament equally shared their concerns, and they were asking that investigation be expedited. And yesterday they had a press briefing where they were happy that at least the girls were released, and that but however we also saw, like you earlier alluded to, the non-governmental gender organizations coordinating council is not happy that it had to took that long for us to
and the fact that I'm not sure if it's indeed what it is, or it's factual, or it's just a blame game narrative towards the police, but it is alleged that the police took an hour to arrive at the scene after being alerted of the incident. Because the issue here is one of the victims jumped over the wall fence when she saw an opportunity and called for help. Then that people are calling hero, Robbie Chitambo, jumped over the wall fence with an axe without knowing exactly how dangerous the area is. Whether there were dogs, whether there were machetes, whether there were guns or what, he just jumped over the wall fence as well and tried to rescue those girls, those young females. So really, that hour that they took has also added on to their inefficiency, according to members of the public and various stakeholders. So the female members of parliament yesterday who were addressing the media were actually saying we will not rest until the police explain to us what exactly happened. Because according to them, they are also not convinced with the way the whole thing was handled. They actually feel there's an invisible hand. And also, the former member of parliament, she actually accused the police of actually witch-hunting the opposition and focusing their energies on opposition parliamentarians or opposition members of parliament or opposition political leaders, as opposed to looking at issues that are more important. According to her, the story of Pamela and the rest of the crew was very important. Also to note, Patrick, is the NGOCC is asking the police to release statistics of reported missing persons, because it was a shocker for many people to know that there were actually 13 people in that house.
I remember at some time when we were covering stories pertaining to abductions, the police kept saying we cannot confirm that there are no abductions. As far as we're concerned, it's only Pamela issues that is involving the abduction. And we have clips of that, because I remember also Tito Kalama did the story even before Pamela went missing.
Yes.
He did a
story of that woman with a child.
Yes.
I think he did that story in Chilenje.
Yes. We also did a story, Sharon, pertaining that other girl who was missing. But they said can't be treated as an abduction and everything. But what happened? The lady happened to be among
the 13.
The 13. So that goes to show that we need to do more. We need to attach the agency, especially because I remember the story very well, because I said when we went to report at Matero Police, we were told you come this day, you come, we start investigations, you do this, and again when they went back, they said, okay, you start reporting afresh. So sometimes is it the agency that we attach to these issues?
I'm hoping.
What seriousness are we attaching to such issues?
I'm hoping that with this revelation, because abductions, of course, they may be happening in isolated accounts, isolated times, but with this, I'm hoping it's an eye-opener. When people report somebody missing, the police or the relevant authorities would take up this report with the agency it deserves. Because you and I, Patrick, are aware that, especially when you're above 18, when you're reported missing, they'll tell you, as a boy, and the boyfriend work. You know, if it's a female, you know, they'll tell you that without knowing exactly or having a thought to say, okay, maybe this person was abducted. We have among those people a 28-year-old, you know. But when you go and report who are 28 years that, you know, we should stop treating these things casually.
Yeah, so you see what happened to that woman.
She was also among them, looking lost.
You see, so for me, I think we need to really get serious. And they're talking about the digital rights and digital safety. It's something that we haven't paid attention to as a country. I've seen it, especially that now we are exposed to social media.
Yeah.
And the major platform we use in Zambia is WhatsApp and Facebook. So when you're using WhatsApp or Facebook, you see, these people, for me, from the look of things, you'd see that there was a connection on Facebook. They were communicating on Facebook. So if you look at Facebook, for instance, if you are accepting people who are strangers to be your friends, the next thing you see is that someone will text you to say, hi, how are you?
Yes.
They'll try to seek to get to know you.
Yeah.
By the time you realize, it will be too late because they would have gotten enough details about you.
And
the next thing they do is that they'll seek a date with you. As they seek a date with you, you end up...
You agree because you feel comfortable. You know, social media, like, you know, interacting online or something will make you feel as if you know someone.
Yes.
You get used, you know, you've been chatting for months and then you feel like you've met this person. By the time you're meeting... You know, there's just that connection you have with somebody that you've been constantly in touch with.
Then we see issues of sextortion coming into being. So our children usually are now at risk of this issue where people who are older than them now would say, send me your nude pictures.
Yes.
Or then they'll also do the same. They send these children nude pictures. They start exchanging contacts. So what happens now? For them to make money, they are scammers. So they'll say, these pictures you sent me, I'm going to link them to your parents, or I'm putting them on social media.
I'll publish.
So now what happens? They tell the child to say, you have to pay me something. You have to pay me. So now the child now starts stealing things, starts asking for money from parents, and start giving these people extorting money. So there's a wider range of crime when you look at the cyberspace, and that is going on. But just last month, we were talking to the defense minister, Ambrose Lufuma.
Yes.
He was talking about scammers pertaining to jobs, where people would be told to say, if you want to be recruited, you are going to deposit a 5,000. You deposit a 5,000, you are automatically assured of a place. But for me, that does not occur. You know, what happens is that these people even create Facebook accounts. They even use defense wing logos and the ministers. So they'll make you believe that they are coming from the Zambia Army, or they are coming from the Zambia National Service, they are coming from the Zambia Air Force, so you can get a job through them. But immediately you pay your money, you discover that they will continue making those assurances. As I'm talking up to now, people still having those assurances, and they have not gotten the jobs. And those pages, Sharon, they're still there. If you go and look there, those pages are there. People still do report these pages. But what extent do we act swiftly as authorities, as leaders?
Bring down
because
such pages.
ZICTA equally has to make sure that such irregularities are not tolerated to thrive online, because if they thrive, they tend to injure society, like we saw, because to a certain extent, this is also a digital fraud. And most of the targeted people were mobile money booths, because automatically they are sure to say these people move with cash. So when we abduct one, we go away with the cash. These issues we need to pay attention to them as a country. Yeah, you too can give us your perspective on this issue, on how you think law enforcement agencies can better address issues pertaining to crime, as well as issues pertaining to abductions in the future.
How serious are these matters in our country? Could it be a syndicate of human trafficking? What is your say? What are your thoughts really on this as we wait for Police to investigate, conclude the whole thing, because obviously they will be interviewing each and every victim, and they will know probably maybe one of those victims was working with the abductors. You never know. So they will do their own investigations, and they will obviously update the nation. We surely hope they will not take 6 months to extract this information and give us a comprehensive statement as stated by the Inspector General of Police, Kakoma Kanganja. Actually, in one of the tabloids yesterday, he gave them a story and said police was already surveilling that area. So it was just a coincidence.
Mr. Lemi
Yes, Kajo.
You like Mr.
Kanganja. Mr. Lemi Kajo. So, you know, I think I covered the Kanganja a lot.
Yeah,
so
I get confused with Hona.
The vice president. Okay, yes, let me Kajola. So really, he said he will issue a comprehensive statement, and we surely hope that. But yesterday, like I was mentioning earlier, like he gave a statement or a story to one of the tabloids that the police were already surveilling that area, and them being in that area was those residents there was a sheer coincidence. You know, police was due to move in a day before that or after. You know, they were still surveilling, they were still zooming. I think I'll use the word that is familiar to us. They were zooming the area because they had already got wind of the information that, okay, I want to vary up. Also, shockingly, those 2 boys who were caught Kuma Nkeyema, Western Province, how people were nayenza motoka?
Were they driving themselves, or they went in a public car?
I mean, I think so, because that guy was snoring. I think he was tired. Patrick, so did you see those videos?
Yes, I did.
You know, up to today, I still don't understand how you would snore like that.
But I wanted to understand, did they get in a public vehicle or they were driving?
I don't know.
Maybe they got a yango.
That information has not been availed yet. A statement yesterday when Hamonga just said, we have apprehended 2 suspects, Skaonga and the other one, Mulenga, James Mulenga or something. So really, Patrick, kulala kwaso, snoring while your friend is being interrogated.
Yeah, I thought he was probably it was some of beatings.
I don't think. Na lala kona pamoru ya munangwe. Na mama nangwa, with all due respect. Hey,
but I think they haven't been sleeping. I think they have been in a tense moment.
They suspected?
I mean, they could have been in a tense moment because probably these people move up and down.
And you know, Patrick, when the police was arriving, it's just alleged that the others escaped. But I'm thinking those people had a tip-off to say, so they decided to run.
Or is it probably when they heard that, umozi atawa?
I don't think so. They decided to just vacate that premises. They just decided to leave because they were not found at the scene.
Yeah.
So those people had a tip-off. And that issue, you know, yesterday there were a lot of narratives on social media. Said no, one of them is a relative to one of the police officers, and you know, one of the businessmen in Nkeyema, big businessman who has enriched himself due to whatever. Okay, those are social media theories. But you know, when you look at the issues happening, the connection to all this, it could be probably those people were alerted. So it was between today, tomorrow, or the other day. When you look at all the statements, the social media hullabaloo is that this person, one of them, has a relative who is a police officer. You know, Mr. Lemika Jova says we were surveilling and yet to close in a day before or after that incident, or the actual day. So it's like information leaked somewhere.
Yeah, we must be having those challenges.
No, it's leaked because there is no way. Because you know those people, if they were in Lusaka, all these checkpoints going to Western Province, my friend, they would have been caught. They would have been caught. Because there are a lot of checkpoints. And let's you know our police sometimes because they have a phone here Facebook. They're checking in quite we were wanted list.
Let's also look at what stories do you have with
All right, so one of the stories that we have actually is coming from the health discipline, and a multidiscipline team of medical doctors at the University Teaching Hospital Tuesday successfully removed a tumor on the jaw of a 44-year-old patient who has been agonizing with the mass for 7 years in a 4-hour-long surgery led by Dr. Christopher Kapeshi, who is a surgeon, and his assistant, Dr. Mwalimu Kamanga, successfully removed the tumor called, I'm not mentioning this thing because I will insult, from Jessel Monwa, a father of 4 who works at Zesco as an electrician in Ndola. Yesterday, the patient told Camnet News, who witnessed the surgery today, that is Tuesday, that he believed his maker was going to be with him during the surgery. We would like to warn our sensitive viewers that the picture you're about to see may be a little disturbing. Then we will also follow the story for this young boy that Miriam has been covering. Yesterday, an association that looks at those people actually held a meeting where Ministry of Health Director for Clinical Services, Dr. Alex Mukope, has stressed the need to make colostomy bags available in all health facilities for people living with ostomy. Let's look at these 2 important stories, and hopefully Tito is in the house to explain to us what exactly was happening in the theater room.
He was confident when we interviewed him yesterday as he awaited his operation date that he described as divine intervention. He had said he had given up hope after visiting a number of hospitals until he met a dental surgeon in a very different circumstance.
I lost interest from that time until last this year in June.
Sound reassuring banter of the assembled medical team that are working with the coordination more than that of ants. The patient has to be shaved and the time is 11:45 and everyone knows what to do without flicking an eyelid. From there on, his eyes have to be closed as they begin the procedure while he is fully awake and given the right medication to ease the pain. The theater room is full of medical paraphernalia and looks like something out of the movies and yet real. It's Zambia's very own medical team. The lead surgeon and his assistant have done this before and working hand in hand with the rest of the team. They draw a line below the jaw where they'll have to remove the lower part of it that has grown into a mass. They dive in and now cutting. There is smell of smoke and fresh. Nonetheless, they are discussing current affairs from music awards to the crime rate. The patient can no longer feel anything. It's a strange feeling for some in the room, especially the intern nurses and the journalist. Working with precision and dexterity, the tumor is finally removed and followed by ensuring that the rest of the tumor is nipped completely. They are now stitching his jaw back on the man they have nicknamed the Zesco Man. It's now done. After 4 long hours, the team will have a sound sleep tonight, having done a noble deed. He is now waking up as the corners of his mouth twitches. It's short of a miracle. The doctor now describes the procedure of the operation.
It was actually removing the whole tumor, but of course we had to do it in a way that, as we now approximate the edges, we restore the way the person previously looked. So it's about restoring form and function.
He says such tumors are common in Zambia.
The patient had an aminoblastoma, so this is a very common tumor in this country, very common. Literally would have like maybe 3 patients a week. 3 patients a week, and that's a high turnout. If we were to account for all the aminoblastomas, they account for about around 80% as compared to all the other tumors put together.
He further says Zambia has continued to lead the way in medical tourism.
Because I think what you saw, it's purely the commitment by Ministry of Health and UTH at large, the adult hospital. So literally we are treating and dealing with a lot of cases that come across Southern Africa, from Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and some from DRC. So literally we are here to help, and that's our core business.
The doctors have reassured that the Zesco man will use his soprano voice in the UCZ choir where he belongs. What has happened here is short of a miracle. This team are truly unsung heroes. We hope the patient goes back to his 4 children back in Dola. Tito Kalama, Camnet News, the UTH Theatre.
The attainment of Zambia's goal of being a prosperous and middle-income country by 2030, as stipulated in its Vision 2030, is dependent on, among other things, a healthy and productive population. Each year in October, Zambia joins the rest of the world in commemorating World Ostomy Day, which falls on the 2nd. Various stakeholders have continued to raise awareness about ostomy conditions because there is a negative stigma. An ostomy is a surgically created opening in the abdomen that allows fecal matter or urine to exit into an external pouch. In an effort to ensure quality services are provided to this marginalized community, Storm Care supports Zambia in partnership with other international partners from Iceland and Sweden in partnership with the European Ostomy, conducted a training for health care workers. It was noted during the training that people living with such conditions face many difficulties as it is not easy to access the right colostomy bags at an affordable price and also the need for more sensitization.
That there is a lot of stigma here. I was for 2 weeks in Zimbabwe in 2019 and they have a horrible situation there. I don't see that your situation is much better. You have a better country, you have a bit more of everything, but the healthcare system really needs to rethink how it is treating ostomates. You are operated on, you are sent out of the hospitals, and you have no chance of getting appliances.
We're here basically to train the doctors and the nurses on how to manage this condition. Most of the ostomy patients that we have in the country do not really know what type of accessories or bags on how to use them, so we are here just to train them and just to make sure that they can also link us to the patients who have problems in finding the ostomy supplies.
And the government says its focus is how best to improve the quality of health care of citizens.
The Ministry of Health now is moving away from addressing numbers, but starting to move into how best we can improve quality of care for our people. We've seen this year we've injected another 11,000 of our people getting into the hospitals. The numbers matter, but sometimes the numbers don't matter if you don't know what we are doing. This meeting is strengthening us, strengthening the nurse, strengthening the doctor on how best we can improve quality of care for our patients.
Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Well, there you have it. Quite interesting stories that we have zoomed in. I hope you managed to follow through, and quite the story on the medical fraternity. We have also been doing a story pertaining the child who has been having that same challenge, and he is going to be getting help from the University Teaching Hospital. Should be this month, and we are going to follow up that story to just make sure that we understand how we will be coping up. And just now in the studios, I will be joined by one of our reporters in the newsroom, and that it is Mr. Tito Kalama. Mr. Kalama, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's mighty nice to actually be here.
Interesting.
And grace the studio.
Yeah. Just a conversation, what of a conversation with you as a scribe behind an interesting story on the tumor.
Oh yes.
You've been following this story for a while now, and we are going towards closing in towards a success in terms of the medical personnel having conducted the surgery, and we are now also looking at the patient's recovery process. First of all, just share with us your experience when you
when you went
to the theater.
You are known for holding a pen and a notebook, a camera as well. Why were you part of that crew?
Yeah, so we, as Camnet TV, we were called upon to actually witness the operation. Many other times that UTH has carried out similar operations, and they've never been documented. So Camnet was exclusively invited to actually witness that operation. As you heard from the story, that operation, that tumor is called ameloblastoma.
I couldn't pronounce it. I couldn't pronounce it. I said, I'm not doing this.
So I had the privilege, and the very first time they started operating, cutting, I was a bit jittery, but along the way, remember it was a 4-hour-long operation. Yes. Along the way, I got to get accustomed, and you know, the banter in between the doctors and his team really put me at ease. Like you saw in the report, they were talking musical awards, they were talking about crime rate, and I was a bit, you know, relaxed, and I witnessed it until it was closed.
Yeah, so just share with us how that operation is vital for us as a country, and him receiving that support, because then that he has been with that condition for 7 years now. How significant is that operation?
So he's had, like you said, the tumor for the last 7 years, and you know, the doctor did allude to the fact that he met him. He's been going to clinics. Remember, he comes from Dola. He's been going to hospitals. They didn't know what to do about it until he went to the trade fair. That's how come he met the dental surgeon who said this can be worked on. And you know, he said there's a gentleman here in Lusaka who has a similar condition, but he uses it for begging. And he was called to say, we can help, this can be worked on. He says, no, this is my capital. Serious. So, like, you know, report says of the tumors that covers about ameloblastoma covers for 80% of the tumors, and they see about 3 patients every week. So you can imagine the gravity of this type of tumor. So yeah, they're doing the best that they can, and they've been handling this type of cases for a very long time. That's why they were able to do it with much ease.
I'm particularly interested in your feeling, because I can't imagine myself in the theatre room, the sight of cutting somebody and stuff. Of course, you mentioned you felt jittery in the beginning. Did you have time to sit? I don't know, did you have time to get closer to the body, the person? I don't like calling it body. It seems like now for a month. But
I'll tell you one thing for a fact. I declined to eat anything to do with meat yesterday. I declined to. I was on juices. I don't know when I'll recover, but I must say that the type of work that these people are doing is a really noble deed. And like I said in the report, these men and women are unsung heroes. And yeah, during the process, like I said earlier on, I could not look at it, but eventually it's medical science. Yes. And I was amazed. And I should pride myself to be one of the first journalists to have witnessed such an operation. Yeah, and thereon I told myself, I think I should be doing more of those.
Are you thinking of changing your career?
No, not necessarily. But you'll agree with me, Ms. Kalimbla, that sooner or later as journalists we encounter such accident scene. For the sake of information and delivering it, you look at it once and you don't want to look at it the second time. But for the sake of information, you just have to consume and watch, and then you deliver. But looking at it time and time again, I don't think it's advisable for any human being. But the doctors are quite comfortable. I was even telling myself, so if this doctor, the son, goes with a cut on the knee, just look at them and say,
they're so used to the whole situation. Now, just to take you back, how did you find out about this same situation?
I am friends with Dr. Kamanga. Yeah, so we got talking.
Can he be my friend too?
If you insist. So we got talking, and he says, there's this surgery coming up. Would you like to be a part and parcel of it? Because remember in the past we had such stories where journalists would be allowed, but it just sort of died a sudden death.
They would not actually be allowed in the theatre room. They would actually be given the story after the whole operation is done. But being found in the location where the operation is being done is actually very amazing, because it equips you with information. Even when you're telling the story, you are putting your all in it because you've seen exactly what was happening. So I asked the question how you found out, and you mentioned the doctor is your friend and you were invited.
Yeah.
You covered the story the day before yesterday. Was that the first time you covered that story?
Yeah, the day before yesterday was the first time yesterday, and we were hoping, if you will permit me, that is, to go and find out how he's recuperating, because we want to broaden up the story. Imagine how the wife is feeling. I wanted to interview her before, prior to the operation. She says, no, not for now, until he's operated on. So you can imagine the feedback she must have been receiving, maybe from her friends, maybe from her relatives. And, you know, she held on. So I would like to find out from her, and obviously her family, and of course the patient himself. Remember, he's got 4 children. He's a soprano singer in the UCZ choir, and I asked the doctors to say, will he ever sing again? They say he's going to come back fully normal, because his jaw was actually removed. So the doctors are saying, because they split the skin like a T, and then they patched it up, so it's kind of sunken in, but they're saying blood is going to fill it up and it's going to have normal chin. But obviously food-wise, solids and liquids. Liquids and maybe small lumps of shimmer, because he likes shimmer. And if you look at him, like the doctor says, he's a very healthy,
handsome man. He's a very handsome man.
It doesn't affect his entire well-being.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He's a handsome man, not like Elijah there.
Yeah.
You know, he's hot.
I can see Elijah. I can see Elijah looking down.
I love hot.
No.
We hope that he recuperates very well, and we will obviously continue to track down the story and see how he will be in the next few weeks. And maybe talk to the family members how they've been. The wife has been there for like 7 years. It's not easy to watch somebody getting deformed by the day, because the tumor was growing. It kept on growing. I think we saw some of the pictures printed Patrick Soko yesterday, the investigators of Camnet TV. They actually went to his Facebook, I think BMAG as well, to see the pictures, and we could see that the tumor was not growing at one pace. It was growing slowly by the day. It kept on growing, and now that it's been removed, we want to see how it's going to be.
And the other homework, Mr. Kalama, that I think you should have is that we need to locate the Lusaka-based man, and after if this one recovers, we need to recover to locate that man who has been using the tumor for begging.
He's been adamant. The doctor himself tried by all means, saying no. This is my capital. Let's hope because it will kill him by the end of the day. It will kill him. Yes. Because it keeps eating. Like you saw in the case of our patient, the so-called Zesco man. After they removed the main tumor, they're calling it the baby. After they removed the main tumor, they again had to go in and to extract, because to ensure that everything to do with the tumor is gone, because it might just start growing again. So in the case of the man, I agree with you, Mr. Soko. We need to track him down and convince him to have that operation. It kills him.
Well, for me, I think if the hospitals are there and the doctors are doing their job, I think someone should be able to receive treatment, as opposed to be disabled. And like Mr. Kalama is putting out, there are many people we meet, especially in the CBD, who would use some
disability, some form of disability too.
I saw someone with a big sore on the leg. It doesn't go to the clinic, and he just wants to show you how severe it is. Then you feel pity and you pay. You see, but we need to discuss such things. If medical attention can be sought, let's utilize our facility. And to what extent does this, Mr. Kalama, add towards Zambia's medical tourism?
Well, you hate him yourself. He says Zambia has been treating people from our neighboring countries. He alluded to Botswana, he alluded to the DRC, Zimbabwe. They come in to actually have operations. Remember, we had the milestone of the Siamese twins, where the American-based doctor Ben Carson did the first surgery, and subsequently we had our own doctors carry out similar operations. So as far as medical tourism is concerned and medical science, Zambia is actually taking the lead. But suffice to say that the question that begs asking really is, the ZESCO man, ZESCO is actually paying for his medical bills. So I wonder about the man that you were asking me about. How does he fit in the whole equation of having a medical operation? Because the ZESCO man is under NEMA, and ZESCO is actually footing the bill.
Interesting. So anyway, anyways, obviously the doctor, for him to invite that person to come, they would have found a way of doing that. But I would actually call on the doctors to always keep us in touch and in the loop of whatever operations they're doing, especially those that are coming in Zambia. I mean, we always say, operations. I mean, we want to tell the stories.
Yeah, because
we want to tell the stories. Like, you know, somebody from Botswana came to do an operation here in Zambia. Our very own doctors operated on that person. We want to tell those stories.
Yeah, interesting. Especially those people, those patients who give us consent. I understand the ZESCO man gave us consent over us covering him. He was okay with it and everything. So we just hope that even others would also do the same, so that we tell stories. You know, when an experience is shared, someone else would be able to get help to say, my colleague was healed of this illness I'm equally suffering from.
Yes.
So I may also, chances are high, I may also get help from UTH. But sometimes people say, no, this condition is not curable.
True.
So you just forget, you die, you just lose hope. But for me, if us as the media as well, we continue to bridge that gap with the medical personnel, it helps us in terms of getting the people abreast to say, this is what our institutions can do, and this is what we can refer to India. But this one, we'll handle it ourselves. So, but if we're not doing that, sometimes people try to paint our doctors as if they're not competent. We would seek, always try to say, probably specialized treatment in South Africa. There's a common hospital in South Africa. Is it at Morning one?
Morning, there's very common where we've heard politicians
Morning,
so, I've forgotten it.
Yes, but they always go there, you understand. But I also want to curtail that thing, because
sometimes it's just a mindset. It's just a mindset, because really, you may realize that we are actually more competent than that facility, but simply because they have equipment and they have one person who has actually trained the rest of the crew. What we need also is to retrain our health personnel and breast themselves with the information, technological aspects that is, because every day there's new technology. Like the other time, Patrick, I think we did a story where this Apollo Cancer Fund is something.
Yes.
The Indian guys.
Yes.
They've actually come up with a new method of curing cancer. You know, so they came here in Zambia to do a series of programs, and they've offered to actually train. The program was being done in partnership with the Zambia Medical Association. Yes, and they've offered to train our doctors on how to treat cancer using that method, which they've just started. You know, so it's about evolving. It's about research. You know.
Yeah. Then the other thing that I also have to mention is that Zambia has been getting enough help from the government of China in doing specialized treatments. In that there's always a medical team that comes from China every year, and this team, Sharon, has been doing wonders. They are specialized. Others will deal with ears, eyes, and whatever, just like that. So what we do that they make sure that they share the expertise with the local doctors. They work mostly with UTH and the Levi Mwanawasa Medical University. I've been able to interact with most of the doctors who are under the China medical team. So this year, I think on our segment, the Off Corner, we try to engage some of the doctors to also, so that they can equally be sharing with us some of the health issues. But when we talk about capacity building and training, that component, they have also been able to assist us very much. And like you say, even us as journalists, it's always about continuous capacity building, because some stories are not as easy as they seem.
True.
You need technical understanding.
True.
You just pursue a story, because sometimes just writing a single paragraph of a story, if you don't know have an idea, becomes a nightmare.
Are you speaking from experience yesterday when you went to the Auschwitz?
but for me, at least science, I've been reporting on science. So for me, it becomes easy. And for some of us, we know where to touch. We know how to touch when it is too complicated. We know where to start from. If it is less complicated, we know how to touch. But those things, Sharon, you can imagine the capacity building you and I and Mr. Karam have gone through since we started. We do this probably on a monthly basis, being capacitated in various issues: health reporting, human rights reporting, gender reporting, and these other aspects. But like we say, it is a continuous process, and that's what we want to continue in our health practitioners, that we become the best, because in the region we have to become a regional hub for medical tourism, so that we capitalize on our position as a land-linked nation. We're no longer landlocked, Sharon. I refuse that.
Yeah, we're land-linked. But I'm sure in geography books, it's still landlocked.
Yeah. That's what we need to change.
Our curriculum really it's still so backwards. However, thank you so much, guys, for your time. Thank you so much, Tito. Thank you so much to everybody who's taken time to watch this show and continue to support us. We appreciate your viewership. We've come to the end of the breakfast show this morning. Join us again tomorrow on Thursday as we talk to some of the people that made promises. Once those who were abducted were found, we will give this, and that. We are following them up, and we hope that they bring the money here. The money here,
Yeah. The money I think has to go to the people who are abducted. So
of course,
there
are people that have already started fundraising. I think John Chandachimba has raised quite a number. I saw one of his posts, among other people really. But these people really need help. They need help from every one of us. If you can do that, but we will also follow up tracking the people that made those promises. Hopefully tomorrow we will have an update on whether those people will fulfill their promise or they were just being politicians. Good morning.